So I've told people before that, look, the World Trade Organization is not a good thing. It's full of sharks. In the EU, everyone works together. And, we agree on standards and terms and all these different things that allow us to basically be able to trade better with each other and to protect good standards in the industries that allow us to be able to at least trade more better and ethically with the rest of the world. However, not so in WTO. And in WTO terms, there are going to be countries that are going to get ahead of us and definitely try and take advantage of us. Because coming of this, Brexit no deal, Britain will be desperate to make trade deals, and it will make a bad one. And here's the thing, as I've told many people before, especially regarding NICE, the NHS, and a lot of stuff, that America will want to dip its filthy hands into and potentially ruin even more. But how about, for example, Australia? So this, in The Independent, how Australia's meat industry plans to flood post-Brexit Britain with products banned in the EU. So campaigners and farmers concerned by removal of technical barriers to trade with Australia could cause an influx of lower quality products. So Australian meat industry leaders are heavily lobbying their government to put pressure on Britain to accept products that are currently banned under EU law after Brexit. Among the meat products suggested for export to the UK are hormone-treated beef and burnt goat heads. Ministers from both countries met last week to discuss the future of their trading relationship amid concerns that the Australian government could force the UK to lower food standards. And people bang on about sovereignty, but here you have clearly another country lowering our food standards. So it comes as a petition supporting the Independent's campaign for a final say on Brexit cast past 570,000 signatures. Trade Minister Liam Fox has long mooted Australia as a key trading partner for the UK, where it ceases to be part of the EU. The Department for International Trade has stated that it will not lower food and animal welfare or environmental standards as part of any free trade agreement. Maintaining them is the right thing to do for our consumers and maintains the UK's world-renowned reputation for high-quality products, a spokesman told The Independent. But Kira Box, a Brexit campaign lead at Friends of the Earth, said that the government is trying one thing but doing something completely different. The government can continue to claim that they are protecting their environment and health, but in reality their promises that are flimsy and unconvincing. An investigation by Friends of the Earth have revealed the extent of lobbying by the Australian meat and livestock industry as Brexit draws closer. Foremost among their demands, I want to note that, people, demands has been the instance that technical barriers are removed once the UK's relationship with the EU ends. However, farmers and environmentalists are concerned about the impact of removals of such barriers that could both be had on British farms and the quality of food. Brexit provides an unprecedented opportunity for the Australian red meat industry to enhance its trading relationship with the UK. Andrew McMillan from the Meat and Livestock of Australia wrote in a letter to the Australian Parliament in 2017. A more liberalised UK import regime than is currently in place would deliver substantial advantages not only to the Australian red meat market industry, but to UK importers, wholesalers and distributors, and food service and the retail operators, as well as consumers. Dave Larkin, the general manager of product at Thomson Foods International, explained in an inquiry last October that the UK once accounted for up to 80% of Australian red meat exports before joining the EU. That is still though still considered important, the UK now only makes up 1.5% of exports by volume. The Australian meat industry is keen to re-establish itself as a major exporter of meat to the UK, but it is currently restricted by EU rules and quotas, and it feels that these are unfair. The UK market has continued to establish itself as a high-value market and is one protected by a number of barriers to trade, explained by Mr. Larkin. Those barriers to trade are subsidies, which we've said is a matter of protecting your own internal market, such as your own meat farmers, tariffs and quota, and technical barriers that form the hormone growth protection prominent bans and processing derivatives in terms of equivalence in processing sites. Growth hormones that have been banned in the EU since 1981 due to health concerns are used in about 40% of Australian cattle and have been employed for more than 3 decades. During the hearing of the Australian Trade Subcommittee at the end of 2017, Jason Strong, the chair of the EU and the UK Red Meat Industry Task Force, said increased trade quotas with the UK could be an opportunity to export not only the more high quality products but also those of the lowest quality. According to the agricultural news service Farm Online, Mr. Strong told the committee Australia could send low-value products including burnt goat heads. The industry is confident that Brexit will open up new opportunities for its meat industry, and that the Australian Parliament concluded that in October that since Brexit, the UK standards and consumable conference bodies have expressed a greater interest in cooperating further with Australia's standards and conformance infrastructure. In Britain, there is a concern about what this could mean. Our standards adopted through the EU are possibly some of the highest standards in the world. John Andrews, a farmer from South Devon and England chair of the Nature Friendly Farming Network, told The Independent. He highlights worries about the lower animal welfare and the environmental standards in nations like Australia, as well as the impact on British farms. Sheep and beef imports of that nature risk depressing the UK beef price beyond which our producers couldn't remain in business. If it happened on a large scale, it is not something I'd like to see Liam Fox trading away, he said. Mr. Box said that the facing future deals will force us to accept dodgy meat we would never have previously considered isn't what people voted for. We used to be rightly proud of our food and food safety and environmental standards. Those safeguards didn't magically exist. They were deliberately put in place for a good reason, and we are vigorously controlled. We're vigorously controlled. If the UK doesn't set out our stall for the future of food right now, then it won't be just Australia pushing their rejected meat onto us. So yeah, Australia, that wonderful, great trading partner Brexiteers bang on about, just infringing sovereignty of the UK government, but that seems to only be a concern when it's the EU doing it, not Australia. I wonder why. Oh, that's why, because people have been brainwashed into thinking that the EU is somehow this bad, evil, mythical thing, but thanks the EU for maintaining such high, good environmental and food standards safety, to have some of the best in the world. So, yeah. Once again, good job, Brexiteers, for, not standing for your beliefs when you should be clearly standing your beliefs about sovereignty. Good job, guys. Good job.